If you have any interest in Scottish history, then you've probably heard of the Victorian era Scottish missionary, hero and African explorer David Livingstone. But today I've come to Lanarkshire to tell you part of his story that I bet you've never heard. If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. Oh yay! What are you up to?
Well, I'm the town crier of Lanark, and when news and information is given out, I have to ring my bell.
Well, don't!
Oh, okay.
If you're Scottish and my age, you've heard of David Livingstone. But for the benefit of some of the internationals, and of course the two people watching that haven't yet drawn their pensions, David Livingstone was a boy from a humble weaving family just outside Glasgow who had intelligence, a thirst for knowledge, determination and a willingness to accept danger and hardship, who went on to become world renowned and was finally laid to rest with kings and queens in Westminster Abbey. Now that is a story in anyone's book. In a future video, I'm going to give you more detail of his story, but as I was planning that, a lady called Helen Lamberton sent me a message about a wonderful part of his story that I hadn't heard. And I thought I must tell the viewers that. Now you might not think that I read comments, but I do. Even when there are too many for me to respond to, I still try to read them. This is the town of Lanark. From here in Lanarkshire, David Livingstone went to Africa 3 times. First as a missionary with the London Missionary Society, and then as an explorer sponsored by the British government, and then as a private explorer thanks to crowdfunding. Each time he delved deeper into the continent. But today's story relates to his 3rd trip. Now for some reason, Victorians were always obsessed about finding out where the River Nile started. And so Livingstone set off after personal and private fundraising to discover the source of the Nile. But after 2 years with no word back, people started to get worried. The question of whether Livingstone was alive or dead received more clamour even than the demand to know who let the dogs out and if that was how the ram ended up in the Ramalama Ding Dong. Those questions might be answered sitting next to your gramophone or CD player, but to find out whether Livingstone was alive or dead, somebody was going to have to go to Africa. The founder and owner of the New York Herald and the man who transformed the journalism of his day was a Scotsman called James Gordon Bennett. His success meant that his son could become the millionaire playboy Gordon Bennett, who came back across the pond and, as well as carrying out incredible stunts, would famously creep up on people in posh London restaurants and suddenly make a loud noise in their ear. Oh yay! Oh yay! Stop it! And give them a fright. To this day, when Londoners are surprised or frightened suddenly, they'll say, "Gordon Bennett!" Now there's a fact you didn't expect in a Scottish history
we're
tour.
making a film. This is about the
Anyway,
5th take.
Daddy journalist Bennett decided that the scoop of the century would be to find Livingstone and satisfy the expectant Victorian public. Now the fact that he was prepared to commission reporter James Henry Stanley and pour huge resources into an indefinite international expedition into unknown territory shows just how famous David Livingstone was in his day. To further illustrate the level of this man's celebrity, more than 100 years later, when I grew up, the eventual meeting between Livingstone and Stanley was part of folklore. There were sketch shows on the telly where a white man in a pith helmet would be lost and exhausted, hacking his way through the jungle, and he'd come into a clearing and find another white man to whom he'd utter the immortal words, "That's right, Dr. Livingstone, I presume." This would be the springboard for 100 different punchlines. People who hadn't met for a long while might meet each other in the street and one might say, "Ah, Willie MacDonald, I presume." And both knew exactly the famous event to which reference was being made. Now, I'm curious about today's audience. Can you let me know in the comment section if you've heard of David Livingstone, if you know about this meeting with Stanley, and your age and location in the world? Now, if that's too much information for your comfort, then tell me what you're comfortable to reveal. But it would be interesting to know the geography and age range that still resonates with that. Now, Stanley spends months with Livingstone, sharing some of his trials and the challenges of exploration before heading back home. But firmly ingrained in folklore is that initial meeting near Lake Tanganyika, where after months of searching, Stanley finds Livingstone and says, "Dr. Livingstone, I presume." He explains that he's been searching for Livingstone for ages, and Livingstone says, "But I wasn't lost." But that's not quite how it happened, and that's why I've brought you to Lanark today. Let's head down this street, Castlegate. Prompted by Helen Lamberton, who I mentioned, I did a wee bit of digging, and now I'm here in Castlegate in Lanark to do a bit of exploring for myself. Stanley didn't just swan off to search for the Scottish searcher who was searching for the source of the Nile. He wasn't roaming in the jungle, gloaming in a kilt, a walking staff and a Glengarry hat. He was Welsh American, for goodness sake. He was wearing a Stetson with a miner's lamp in front. Seriously, he had a whole team of translators, carriers and guides. Livingstone commented on how grand the expedition seemed when they first came upon him. And Henry Morton Stanley wasn't even the first person to come upon the great renowned explorer. That was one of his translators, a young Palestinian boy called Salim Hishmi, who hailed from Jerusalem and spoke Arabic, Swahili and English, who reported to Stanley, "I see the doctor, sir. Oh, what an old man. He's got a white beard." Apparently, this young lad was such a stalwart of the trip that when it was all over and they were back at Port Said, Stanley paid the lad £17,000 in today's terms. Over the succeeding years, Salim Hishmi seems to have developed a career travelling around, giving talks about his experiences with Stanley, in the search for David Livingstone, of course. He's certainly recorded doing just that along the east coast of the USA in the 1880s. It would be crazy to think that he wouldn't do the same here in the UK. He's certainly recorded giving a talk at the YMCA in Stonehouse, just 10 miles from here in 1883. And in the 1891 census, he's registered as lodging in this street with a family called Ritchie. He's also later recorded as lodging with Miss Purdy here in Wide Close. He studied medicine at Edinburgh University and he went on to be a doctor. They tell me that he went around the place in his traditional dress. That must have been quite a colourful sight in Victorian Lanarkshire. Here at the David Livingstone Birthplace Museum, they've got a jacket, a waistcoat and a skull cap worn by the man who first found David Livingstone when he wasn't lost. Now this isn't the only part of his wardrobe here, and they also, you can see, have his knife, his compass and his watch. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Once qualified, Salim practiced as a doctor in the town and the surrounding area, and he continued to give talks on his experiences as an explorer with Stanley and Livingstone. He died here on the 29th of June 1910 at the age of 51. Not in Premier. Obviously 107 High Street wasn't always a mini market. Now don't click away yet. We've got one last bit of exploring to do. Here, in the deepest depths of the Lanarkshire jungle, let me show you something. we find the grave of Dr. Salim Hishmi, and it makes me think. David Livingstone, a lad from Lanarkshire, trained as a doctor, then went to Africa where he tended the sick and became an explorer, and there he died. Salim Hishmi became an explorer in Africa and then came to Scotland, trained as a doctor, tended the sick before he died here in Lanarkshire. Maybe the world has its own way of achieving balance. If you'd like a story about another aspect of Scottish history that people don't often talk about, then there's one coming up on screen now. In the meantime, Hammy and Dochas can be lamb ally. Cheery and drastic.